Okay, so let me see if I can read this article without vomiting. So, Muhammad Ali, I am not making that name up, doesn't believe gay Africans exist. Too bad. He says homosexuality is a Western invention imposed on the continent. Mm-hmm. And who taught you how to hate gay people? Oh, yeah, that would be the West. Cool. Openly gay Africans are liars seeking visas to the West or money from rights groups, he adds. Okay, so if they just want to go to the West and think that being gay will do it, then, I don't know, let them go? Anyway, Ali is a member of Kenya's parliament. He is desperate to follow neighbor Uganda by unleashing a sweeping legislative crackdown on LGBTQ people. Even if he happens to be sick in intensive care, he would ask to be dragged to Parliament to approve it. I suggest somebody, I don't know, put him there? Maybe? I know that's mean, but this guy is disgusting. I will ask them to take me to vote for that, to kick them out. Kick LGBT people out of Kenya completely, he said. I have bad news for you, sweetheart. Even if he did manage to get this group of LGBT Kenyans out, you know who births gay people? Straight people. So, no, you're not going to ever get them out completely because they're always going to exist. That's just the way it is because it's not a choice. It's not something anybody chooses to do. I have heard what trans people go through when they want surgeries because the dysphoria is so bad. I don't think they would wish that on their worst enemy. I'm sure many of those people would prefer to have been, I don't know, born in the right body, for starters. So, no, this is not some sort of scam, and this is not just some way to get to the West. It's just how people are. Sort of like you're a natural asshole. Weeks after Uganda enacted one of the most draconian anti-LGBT laws on earth, I hope they're okay, Kenya could be poised to follow suit with a similarly formulated bill that punishes gay sex with prison or even death in some cases, according to a draft of the law and two lawmakers backing it in Parliament. Similar moves are also afoot in Tanzania and South Sudan. Parliamentarians in those nations told Reuters, revealing for the first time a broad anti-LGBT legislative drive across East Africa. Some regional lawmakers frame the issue as an almost existential battle to save African values and sovereignty, which they say has been battered by Western pressure to capitalize on gay rights. Okay. You know what else is it you have to deal with because of Western pressure? Christianity. Christianity did not exist in Africa until the colonials forced you to be Christian. And guess what? That is the religion that teaches you to hate LGBT people. So, actually, no, you guys used to be pagan. So, if you want to push African values and sovereignty, you would, not be Christian, not, follow these horrible Christian dictates that not even all Christians follow because most Christians actually, you know, aren't religious just to hate people. They actually use religion to make them better people, as opposed to finding all the hateful parts of the Bible and just concentrating on those. So, I fail to see how this is being particularly African. And, I can't imagine that all Africa ever was one homogenous community to begin with. I'm pretty sure tribes fought. That's why there was slavery already in Africa, because people thought that that's just a thing. So, no. The draft of Kenya's Family Protection Bill, seen by Reuters, mirrors many aspects of the Ugandan law, which was signed by President Yoweri Museveni at the end of May, to the dismay of the LGBT community, human rights campaigners, and Western capitals. Gay sex is punishable by at least 10 years in jail under the proposed Kenyan law, while aggravated homosexuality, which includes gay sex with a minor or disabled person, or when a terminal disease is passed on, brings a death penalty. Now, I find it amazing that when they say, oh, we have to fight against the LGBT community, but they only concentrate on gay people. I swear these bigots can't concentrate on more than one group at a time, because there are other letters. But anyway, again, unless you're talking about pedophilia, I don't see what gay sex has to do with anything, because, teenagers have sex. That is just something most of them do. Or I should say a good majority. Now, so unless you're talking pedophilia, which I would hope was already illegal, I don't see why this law is needed. A disabled person, well, yeah, that does take consent into account, but again, that should be for anybody, not just gay people. Heterosexuals can take advantage of disabled people too, and actually they have, or when a terminal disease is passed on. Again, if you knowingly pass it on, then absolutely. Now, I'm not a fan of the death penalty, but absolutely you should be punished for that, because, well, you're setting out to harm someone else. So, yeah. That I can see, but again, what does this have to do with gay people? Because pedophilia should not be a thing regardless of whether you're gay or straight. And same thing with the rest. It should have nothing to do with being gay. I'm sure there are heterosexuals who have STDs who decide that they're going to be horrible people and pass it on to their partners. It has nothing to do with gay sex. Absolutely nothing to do with homosexuality. Why are we acting like this is only something that gay people do? Oh, right, we have to demonize them because reasons. It is a hateful piece of legislation that will truly make the lives of queer Kenyans unbearable if passed, said Annette Atiano of the National Gay and Lesbian Human Rights Commission campaign group. Spokespeople for the Kenyan presidency and government didn't respond to requests for comment about the proposed bill. So, either they're desperately trying to think of a legit reason as to why this is a good bill, or by some sheer miracle they would veto it. I don't know what the system is like in Kenya. If the president can do that, I have no clue. In South Sudan, parliamentary spokesperson John Agani told Reuters that an anti-LGBT law with the same content as Ugandan legislation was being drafted and would put to a vote very soon. He didn't elaborate on the bill, and the Juba government didn't respond to a request for comment. Meanwhile, Tanzanian lawmaker Jacqueline Ngoyani, I hope I said that right, said she planned to introduce a private motion in Parliament later this year to clamp down on gay activity in an attempt to control the ongoing moral decay. No, that's not the government's job to legislate morality. And actually, I question if you can legislate morality, because what one person finds moral, another person will not. And let's take the example of something that's happening in this country, and slut shaming. Now, as you can see, I choose to dress modestly. And I put that in quotes because I'm not dressing like this to be modest. I'm dressing like this because that's what makes me feel comfortable. And nobody can look at me and say I must wear this or I must wear that, because it's not your life that I'm living. If this is what makes me feel comfortable, then you have no right to tell me what I can and cannot do. Now, there are plenty of women who like to wear bikinis, whether they are string bikinis or whether the bikinis actually have material in them. But they wear what they like, what they feel they look good in, what makes them feel good. And if somebody is staring at them and drooling, that's their problem. And if somebody else is going to force them to wear more cloth because it makes them uncomfortable, well, I'm sorry, that makes you uncomfortable. That's a you thing, not the person who's walking around like that. Everybody has their own idea of how to human, and you can't tell other people how to do it as long as they're not hurting other people. And seeing someone scantily clad is not hurting you. If that's giving you a hard on, that is for you to work through, not for them to cover up because you can't handle it. I mean, we do that with all sorts of things. People don't go to, I don't go to bars because I just do not feel comfortable there. Not because I'm worried about, my drink getting spiked or anything. I never liked it when I was a teenager, when you're supposed to, want to go into bars and stuff. I just didn't find the environment suitable for me. So I don't go there. And a lot of it has to do with the type of environment. So because I have a problem with that, I do not go to bars. But I'm not going to complain that the people in the bars forced me out because they created an environment I wasn't comfortable in. No, I just don't go there. There are other things I can do. It's the same thing with going to the beach. You don't want to see scantily clad people because, it's hot out and they want to, that's how they dress at the beach, then don't go to the damn beach. And may I suggest you definitely do not go to a nudist beach because, yeah, that wouldn't work. Same thing with this. You cannot tell someone what to follow your morals. If these people aren't hurting anyone else, if they are with consenting adults and they're not being dicks and, knowingly passing on diseases, then let them be. They're not hurting anybody. Your discomfort that they exist is not a reason to get rid of them. It just means that you need to deal. Okay. If these gay people increase, this will be the end of generation, she added. What the fuck? This is the same as drugs do to our youth. What? I'd say you're on drugs. What the absolute hell? What, do you think that gay is catching and eventually everybody in Africa will be gay? That isn't how being gay works. It's an attraction. And this actually disturbs me. How many of these politicians seem to think that being gay is a choice? I mean, and then they can't understand when you ask them. I hope somebody asks this bitch, well, so you're telling me you're attracted to other women, right? You're just choosing not to act on that attraction. And I'm sure she would be all flustered and, oh, I'm not attracted to women. How could you say that? Because you just say it by saying it's a choice. It is not a choice. Attraction is not a choice. Gay people cannot change their attraction to the same sex any more than I can be attracted to anybody. That is not how it works. Either you're attracted to someone or you're not. It's really that simple. Okay. Asked whether she had specific punishments in mind. Oh God. Nagonyani said she would not share anything until she was advised by legal experts. I hope those legal experts tell her she is a flaming piece of shit. Tanzania's Minister of Constitution and Legal Affairs, Damas Ndumbaro, oh God, I never know if you say the N and D or not, said there was little room to tighten existing colonial-era laws against homosexuality, though. Okay, let's think about this for a minute. Now, these people are screaming that the West is imposing their ideology on Africans and their moral decay, while in the same breath pointing out that these are colonial era laws. In other words, imposed by the West. Pick one. Either you don't want to be influenced by the West, in which case you have to go before colonialism, or you admit that you just want to hate, because you can't do both. Anyway, do they want 100 years in prison while we already have a life sentence, he told Reuters. Let us review why the problem is persisting, he said, referring to gay activity, which is not a problem except, I don't know, it gives you a hard on? I do not understand what is with this obsession with gay sex. Because notice, they only talk about gay homosexuality in reference to gay sex. It is absolutely disturbing how much these horrible people are thinking about gay sex. I don't think gay people think about sex this much. The government is still collecting opinions on how to solve the problem. God. I just can't. The Kenyan anti-gay bill is being vetted by a parliamentary committee, which can then refer it to the full chamber for a vote. Officials have given no indication of the possible timeline. The LGBT community fears the worst, 3 rights groups told Reuters. In a debate in Parliament initiated by Ali in March about whether to ban speech or publications that promote same-sex relations, what about all the publications and speeches that promote heterosexual relationships? I assume those are fine. More than 20 lawmakers spoke out against LGBT rights and none in support. That's great. Several called for legislation to strengthen penalties for same-sex acts, including the deputy majority leader who said gay sex could be punished by hanging. Oh, God. What century am I living in? President William Ruto, an evangelical Christian, you don't say, has criticized a February Supreme Court decision allowing an LGBT rights group to register as a non-governmental organization. We cannot travel the road of women marrying their fellow women and men marrying their fellow men, he said at the time. Why not? Nobody's forcing you to marry a man. Calm the fuck down. The proposed Kenyan law reflects a significant degree of agreement and coordination on anti-gay policies between lawmakers across the region, according to the draft of the bill, as well as Reuters interviews with the Kenyan MPs and activists. Several new crimes appeared in both Uganda's law and the proposed Kenyan one, including the aggravated homosexuality offense, promoting homosexuality, and allowing gay sex on your property, which affects landlords. The latter two carry prison terms of at least 10 and 5 years respectively, the draft shows. Okay, so not only are they just flaming bigots, sounds like they're also wanting people to spy on their neighbors, because what is done in the privacy of your own apartment is none of the landlord's business, unless they're doing something horrible to someone else, unless it's something that's affecting someone else, hurting someone else. There is absolutely no reason for the landlord to get involved. Absolutely not. The Kenyan bill's author, lawmaker Peter Kaluma, said the push to pass similar legislation to Uganda's was in part motivated by solidarity with its smaller neighbor, which has faced Western criticism over its law and seen the United States impose visa restrictions on some officials. Across the continent, we want to have these laws, Kaluma added. If they were to sanction Uganda, let them sanction the entirety of Africa. You do understand that Trump actually did try to do that, along with calling you all shithole countries. So you're deciding to prove Trump right? Why would you do that? He said the proposed law was influenced by discussions at a conference organized by Ugandan lawmakers in March in the city of Entebbe, where he said parliamentarians from several African nations discussed strengthening anti-LGBT laws. Now, this Kenyan claims that it's the entirety of Africa. Is it though? Because this sudden spurt is in Eastern Africa. So unless you're claiming that's the entirety of Africa, I don't know. I don't know what the laws are in the rest of Africa. The conference about African family values and sovereignty, of course, was attended by around 80 lawmakers from 14 countries, according to a communique issued afterwards. Uganda was best represented, contributing over half of the delegates, followed by South Sudan. The delegates called for action on issues ranging from the sexual exploitation of children to pornography. They urged nations to ban transgender medical interventions, shocking, and make foreign donors pledge that none of their funding would go to abortion, comprehensive sexuality education, and or the LGBTQ agenda. So, these asshats want as many babies as possible, don't care if impoverished people get pushed further into poverty by having said as many babies as possible. And because we want as many babies as possible, you can't be LGBT. What the hell? I mean, think about it. What is wrong with comprehensive sex education? Seriously. Oh no, maybe African mothers especially will be able to decide when they want to become mothers. Oh no, they might get to decide how many kids they want. We can't have that. I mean, the idea is to just have as many babies as possible so an impoverished country can stay impoverished. Ah! A U.S. State Department spokesman said Washington opposes any law that curtails vulnerable groups' human rights and said government should work to ensure all individuals can enjoy fundamental freedoms. The United States advances efforts around the globe to protect LGBTQI persons from violence and abuse, criminalization, discrimination, and stigma, and to empower local LGBTQI movements and persons, the spokesperson said in response to questions about this story. The Kenyan bill would toughen up a colonial-era statute under which gay sex was already illegal, though the older, less detailed law was rarely enforced. Again, hypocrisy much? You first scream that the West is trying to tell you what to do while following laws that were imposed on you by the West. Hell, you're following a religion that was imposed on you by the West. I just can't even with the hypocrisy. The proposed law would signal the death knell for Kenya's status as a place of relative refuge for gay people in East Africa, as the only country in the region to host refugees fleeing persecution because they are LGBT. The draft bill stipulates that no one should be granted asylum on grounds of persecution linked to sexual orientation. Well, it's a good thing nobody gets persecuted for being straight, because I'm sure that people would change their tune hella fast. Anticipation of the new legislation and the anti-gay rhetoric in politics and the media from public figures such as Ali and Kaluma that has accompanied it, it has already cast a chill over the LGBT community, according to organizers of the Pride event in Nairobi this month. Stella Kachina, one of the organizers, said that unlike in previous years, the location was not disclosed in advance out of fear that the anti-gay activist would target the event. Fair. Instead, participants were picked up and brought to the venue. Wow, that's got to be tough, because it's one of those, you have to be in the in-group already. You have to be part of the club. So any new person who is either an ally or a member, how do they find out about this event? How do they get there? Attendee Marlise Buebwa, God, I hope I said that correctly, said the current climate was frightening for gay people. Kenya as a country doesn't feel like home anymore, she said. Well, according to Ali, that's the point. He wants you gone. Both advocates and opponents of the Family Protection Bill say it has a good chance of becoming law, boosted by the enhancement of the Ugandan law and well-organized and financed anti-LGBT political campaigners. I find it funny because, at least in the case of the Uganda law, especially when they passed the kill the gays bill first, um, it was United States evangelicals who were coming there. So again, how are you showing your independence exactly? Lorna Diaz, executive director of the Gay and Lesbian Coalition of Kenya, also cited last year's election of Ruto. The mere fact that we have a religious leaning president who has openly declared his stand, people have been emboldened by his religious proclamations, Diaz said. Okay, that is the end of that. Kind of like how all the bigots came out in full force when Trump was elected. I mean, they started coming out when Obama was elected simply because that was a bridge too far because, oh my God, we have a black president. But Trump emboldened them. He gave people with he gave them permission to be the despicable people that they are, or as how Hillary called them, deplorable. So it's the same thing here. This guy who's, and I'm not saying all deeply religious people are like that. Joe Biden is a deeply religious Roman Catholic. He just understands that not everybody is Roman Catholic or even religious. So he accepts that not everyone follows his beliefs. So you can be deeply religious and not be an asshole. Unfortunately, there are too many people in government who seem to think that their morality is somehow the best morality ever. And they're going to impose it on everybody else. Again, unless someone is hurting someone else, if this is between two consenting adults, I fail to see the problem. I really do. Anyway, that is all I have for that article. Hopefully, come later, I'll have some, come tomorrow or something, I'll have some good news. But for now, I will quit rambling and I will see you guys next time.